Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about the molecular mechanism of the lethal component of deadly mushrooms. Several mushrooms of the genus Amanita, Lepiota, and Galerina are highly toxic and can cause death. About 10 to 30% of people who consume these mushrooms die days later. Many of these mushrooms have similar appearance to safe to consume mushrooms. For example, the deadly Galerina marginata mushroom is often mistaken for the safe hallucinogenic mushroom psilocybe cyanescens. Of all the known deadly mushrooms, Amanita phallopodes, also known as the death cap, is most often consumed accidentally. These mushrooms are the cause of 80% of all mushroom poisonings. The reason for the toxicity of these mushrooms is due to the presence of poisons called amatoxins. The most deadly amatoxin is alpha-amanitin, and in this video I will be describing the molecular mechanism of alpha-amanitin toxicity. Symptoms of the poisoning has 3 distinct phases. The first phase occurs within the first day and consists of gastrointestinal disturbances, such as nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. The second phase occurs around the second day, and the symptoms begin to disappear and you begin to feel better. However, in the third phase, which occurs around the third day, severe liver and kidney toxicity begins, which can cause death. Before I describe why amatoxins are so toxic, I will first describe the basic biology of cellular function. Your body is made of many organs, each with specific functions. For example, the intestines are responsible for breaking down food you eat into nutrients that can be transported into the blood. The liver is an organ that, among other things, is responsible for processing toxins in your blood, especially those recently absorbed by the intestines. Meanwhile, the kidney is responsible for moving excess waste from your blood into your bladder to be released in your urine. Each organ is made up of cells that help the organ carry out its function. The component of a cell that is most crucial for its survival is the nucleus. The nucleus contains instructions for the production and function of all the cells in the body. These instructions come in the form of DNA, however, only some of the information in the DNA is needed for each kind of specialized cell. A protein called RNA polymerase reads the important portion of the DNA required for a particular cell and translates it into RNA. These cell-type specific RNA codes are read by another protein called a ribosome that converts the RNA into protein. Proteins are long strings of amino acids that fold in on themselves and can perform all the basic functions that keep a cell alive and allow it to do its job. Basically, DNA is like a book that contains instructions for every cell in the body. RNA is like a page from that book that only contains the information that is important for that specific cell. Proteins are the molecular machines that do the work that keep a cell alive and carry out its functions. This process is constantly going on in every cell in the body because as old proteins degrade, they need to be replaced by new ones so that the cell can stay alive and continue performing its normal function. A normal functioning cell results in normal organ function. Normal functioning organs leads to normal body functions. However, this process is perturbed when an amatoxin-containing mushroom is consumed. Amatoxins bind to RNA polymerase and inactivate it. This disrupts the conversion of DNA into RNA, and as a consequence, there is no RNA present that can be converted into protein. This leads to the cell losing the ability to make new proteins, and as the old proteins degrade, the cell can no longer keep itself alive or perform its normal functions. This leads to cell death, which results in organ death, and then finally bodily death. If the mechanism of amatoxin affects every cell in the body, why are there 3 distinct symptomatic phases? Well, the answer is that certain cell types rely more on newly made proteins than others. The first phase of toxicity is caused when the mushroom reaches your intestines. This is partly because these are the first cells exposed to high levels of amatoxin after eating the mushroom. Another reason the intestines are affected is that the cells are constantly being made and replaced. This is because they are exposed to many chemicals your body produces for digesting food. Because making new cells requires a lot of new protein synthesis, amatoxins therefore prevent dead intestine cells from being replaced by new ones. This causes the first phase consisting of symptoms related to intestinal dysfunction, such as nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. As amatoxins pass from the intestines to the blood, it begins to spread to other organs. The first organ that is exposed to amatoxin is the liver, since blood from the intestines is funneled here before going to the rest of the body. The liver also has special transport proteins that bring amatoxins into the cells, which means large amounts of amatoxin builds up in liver cells. Another organ that accumulates amatoxins is the kidney. Since amatoxin doesn't get broken down, the only way that it can get out the body is through the kidneys, which allows it to be excreted in the urine. This means the kidney is also in a position to accumulate amatoxins. However, unlike the intestines, liver and kidney cells don't need to be replaced by new ones very often. As a result, both old and new proteins are around that can keep the cell alive and functional. Amatoxin only impairs new protein synthesis. Because of this, the second phase of apparent improvement occurs because older proteins continue to perform their functions, since it takes time before the proteins need to be replaced. However, in the third phase, these old proteins start degrading, which leads to liver and kidney cell death, and finally, organ death. The liver has several important functions and is required for processing poisonous waste products in your blood, as well as regulating blood clotting, while the kidneys are essential for excreting waste in the form of urine. Loss of liver and kidney function can lead to excess waste and blood clotting, which can cause death. In summary, the lethal components of deadly mushrooms are amatoxins. Amatoxins block RNA translation, preventing new proteins from being made. Amatoxin ingestion causes 3 stages of symptoms. Phase 1 is intestinal distress, followed by Phase 2, which is an apparent recovery phase, and Phase 3, where liver and kidney failure ensues and possibly death. The symptom phases are mediated by different rates of protein replacement in cells of different organs. Thank you for watching. Links to sources of all the things I've discussed in this video can be found in the description below.